In this project, I'm transforming a dated set of nightstands with cane drawer fronts. I reused the original hardware, added height with custom legs, and did my signature paint and stain combo finish. There were some wins, some failures, and a few setbacks along the way, and that's exactly why I'm sharing it. So you know that not every makeover is smooth or perfect. For the legs, I wanted to give the nightstands a more modern, elevated look. I used a wood baluster from Home Depot, cut it down, and installed it with corner braces. It's not a method I've seen done before, but it worked well and gave the piece a lot more presence. There were also some repairs that I needed to make to the nightstands, specifically the drawers. These are beautiful dovetail drawers. They look great. All of them, however, the dovetail joints were separating. So what I did was use some wood glue, some Gorilla Glue, and my clamps, and just made sure that I clamped everything tightly together after gluing it and let it sit overnight. The next day I was able to sand the glue off and sand the sides smooth. I used QCS finish remover on the tops of the nightstands to remove some of that finish before I started sanding. I then used the cleaner on the sides and the drawer fronts. I might not have left it on long enough on the tops, but it didn't remove as much of the finish or the stain as I had hoped, and I'm not sure that I would use this particular product again. What I ended up doing next was I sanded down the finish on the tops using 80, then 120, and then 180 grit sandpaper, and then did a final hand sand with 180 grit just to make sure that I didn't have any swirl marks. And then I scuff sanded everything, did a little bit of filling for an area that I found that needed it, and then moved on to staining the tops. For the tops of the nightstands, I chose this color Kona. It's one of my favorite really dark stains, and the reason I chose it is because there were a couple little spots, dark spots, on the wood finish that I just couldn't sand out from the tops, and I thought that the Kona stain would actually hide it. I also used the dark Kona stain on the new legs that I had added. Once the stain was all wiped back, unfortunately, I could still see those dark spots that I had hoped would be camouflaged. So at this point, I ended up trying a lot of different products and a lot of different things. Ultimately ended with Java Brown Glaze by Rust-Oleum, which I thought looked quite good. Problem is, once it had dried, it still didn't look that great. At this point, I just really needed to move on. I needed a break from these tops, so I decided to move on to primer and paint. I primed using Benjamin Moore's Inselex Aqualock in white. I purchased this because I use the black on a regular basis and I really like it. I don't find that I like the white as much. If I'm using a white primer, my go-to is Bin Shellac. For my base paint color, I chose Algonquin by Fusion Mineral, cutting into the edges with my Stahlmeister brush and then rolling with a microfiber roller. While Fusion paint doesn't technically require a top coat, I do like to put something over it for added protection and because I find it a little bit matte. In this case, I layered white stain and finishing oil over top of the Algonquin paint. I was going for a soft, washed look, something I'd done before on a previous set of nightstands that turned out beautifully. Let me show you a quick clip of those here. The finish had just the right amount of warmth and texture, and I wanted to recreate that. I then decided it would be a good idea to top coat the tops with the white stain and finishing oil. This probably seems a little crazy. I did test it on one of the legs on the back, which is a good approach to take if you don't want to commit to doing it on the tops. After I'd applied it and wiped it back, however, I was not happy with it. So in order to fix that, I went back with natural stain and finishing oil by Fusion. And I was happy-ish with the result at this point, but I had put so much into it, I just couldn't do any more. Moving on to hardware now, I did what I call hardware soup, 50-50 mix of water and white vinegar, boil it, and then use Barkeeper's Friend and scuff it to clean the finish. Brought them back to a really nice brass finish, which I thought I would want, but then when I put it up against the paint, it just didn't seem to match quite as well, so I moved on to one of my favorite spray metallics, which is this Rust-Oleum finish in chestnut. Of course, my spray bottle stopped working, so I had to do the last few touch-ups with my paintbrush. The wooden drawer slides on these older nightstands can get a little bit sticky, so I rub them with beeswax finish using a blue shop towel, and it really helps them to slide back into place nice and smooth. Moving on to the last finishing touches, I vacuumed out the drawers and then got ready to line them with a peel and stick wallpaper. I measure to make sure that it will fit, then I check the width and the depth of the drawers, and then use my rotary cutter and Olfa mat and ruler to get a nice clean straight line. Cutting the width of the drawers first, and then I just trim off what's needed from the edge. Very little waste on this one. And with this last step, these nightstands were finally done. In all honesty, these did not sell, and I ended up needing to repaint them a completely different color in order for that to happen. So some go great, some don't, and that's okay. Thank you so much for watching and reflecting with me as I go back and repurpose some of the original content from this video. Please like and subscribe if you want more honest furniture makeovers like this one, and don't forget to follow on social.